Imagine you are Max Verstappen. You have just won the Formula One World Championship. You have millions of dollars in the bank, a private jet waiting on the tarmac, and access to the most exclusive parties in the world. It is Saturday night. What are you doing? Are you at a club in Monaco? Are you on a yacht? No. You are sitting in your bedroom, in your pajamas, staring at 3 computer monitors, screaming at a teenager from Germany because he didn't leave you enough space into turn 1. This isn't a joke. This is the new reality of Formula One. For decades, F1 drivers were untouchable gods who only drove when the cameras were rolling. If they wanted to practice, they had to book a track, ship a car, and burn thousands of dollars of fuel. But today, the grid has changed. The new generation, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, they don't stop driving when the Grand Prix ends. They go home, they turn on their computers, and they keep racing. But they aren't playing Mario Kart. They are using technology so advanced, so precise, and so expensive that it has blurred the line between a game and reality. In this video, we are going to break down the secret training weapon of the modern F1 driver. We are going to look at the $35,000 home rigs that live in their spare rooms. We'll expose how teams use military-grade simulation to win races before the car even arrives at the track. And most importantly, we are going to show you how you can build the exact same setup in your living room for a fraction of the price. Welcome to the digital revolution of speed. To understand why sim racing has taken over, we first have to understand the biggest problem in Formula One. Reality is expensive. In almost every other sport, you can practice as much as you want. If you are a tennis player, you can hit serves for 10 hours a day. If you are a basketball player, you can shoot free throws until your arms fall off. The only cost is your energy. But in Formula One, practice is illegal. Strictly speaking, teams are banned from running their current cars outside of official race weekends and very specific testing days. The FIA, the sport's governing body, does this to save money. If practice were allowed, Ferrari and Mercedes would just run their cars 24/7, spending billions, and the smaller teams would go bankrupt trying to keep up. So for a modern rookie driver, this is a nightmare. You have to learn how to drive the fastest car on Earth, but you are only allowed to drive it for maybe 3 days before the season starts. Imagine trying to learn how to play the violin, but you are only allowed to touch the instrument for 1 hour a year. It would be impossible. So the drivers had to find a loophole. They needed a way to drive the car, feel the track, and sharpen their reflexes without actually turning a wheel or spending $1 of the budget cap. Enter the simulator. But we aren't talking about the setup you buy at Best Buy. We are talking about the Spider. Every F1 team has a top secret room back at the factory. Inside, suspended on massive hydraulic legs, is a chassis. It looks like a torture device from a sci-fi movie. It moves in 6 degrees of freedom: pitch, roll, yaw, heave, surge, and sway. It is surrounded by a 180-degree wraparound screen. The steering wheel is the real $100,000 wheel we talked about in our last video. The pedals are hydraulic, requiring over 100 kilograms of force to press, exactly like the real car. This room runs on a custom engine, usually R-Factor Pro, that simulates physics at a level that makes your brain hurt. They scan the track surfaces with LiDAR lasers, mapping every bump, every curb, and every crack in the asphalt to the millimeter. Before a driver goes to a new track like Las Vegas or Miami, they will spend days in this room. They memorize the braking points. They test different suspension setups. They literally learn the track before it has even been paved in real life. But there is a problem. These factory simulators are huge. They require a team of engineers to run. You can't put one in your apartment. And drivers, being competitive obsessives, wanted to practice at home. They wanted to race against their friends online. They wanted to keep their reflexes sharp on a Tuesday night. So they started building their own. Let's look at the king of the sim, Max Verstappen. Max is unique. Most drivers treat the sim as work. Max treats it as life. He is part of a professional sim racing team called Team Redline. These aren't just casual gamers. They are the best esports drivers in the world. And Max races with them, often under a fake name, just to keep his skills sharp. But what is he actually using? If we zoom in on his setup, we can see why it costs as much as a family sedan. First, the wheelbase. He uses a direct drive system. Unlike cheap wheels that use gears or belts, a direct drive motor connects the steering wheel directly to the motor shaft. There is no filter. When the car in the game hits a curb, the motor creates a torque spike that can literally rip the wheel out of your hands if you aren't holding on tight. It creates up to 25 Newton meters of torque. To put that in perspective, driving a road car takes about 3 to 4 Newton meters. This thing is a beast. Then, the pedals. Max uses hydraulic pedals that simulate the pressure of a brake caliper biting onto a carbon disc. There is no spring. You are pushing against fluid. It allows him to modulate his braking by tiny percentages, muscle memory that transfers directly to the F1 car. And finally, the rig, the chassis itself. You can't bolt this gear to a wooden desk. The force would snap the desk in half. You need a dedicated cockpit made of extruded aluminum profile. It's industrial stuff. It doesn't flex, it doesn't squeak, and it holds your body in the exact laying down position of an F1 car. This is where the line blurs. When Max is racing in the 24 hours of Le Mans Virtual, he is using the same mental capacity, the same visual cues, and the same physical inputs as he does on Sunday. The only difference is the G-force and the risk of death. But here is the crazy part. You don't need to be Max Verstappen to have this. Sim racing on a desk sucks. Your pedals slide away from you. Your wheel rattles your monitor. You can't be consistent because you're constantly fighting your own furniture instead of fighting the track. You can buy the most expensive wheel in the world, but if you bolt it to a cheap desk, it feels like a toy. This is where SimLab changes the game. SimLab is the industry standard for aluminum profile cockpits. They are the exact brand that many professional drivers use at home. In fact, they are the official partner of the Mercedes-AMG Petronas esports team. If it's good enough for the world champions, it's good enough for us. I've been using a SimLab cockpit for my own setup, and the difference is night and day. The benefits are immediate. First, rigidity. When you slam on the brakes into a hairpin, the rig doesn't move a millimeter. This means your muscle memory is perfect every single lap. Second, comfort. You can adjust the seat, the wheel height, and the pedal distance to perfectly match your body. No more back pain after a 20-minute race. And third, immersion. When you sit in a dedicated cockpit, your brain switches modes. You aren't sitting at a desk anymore. You are strapped into a race car. The coolest feature of their P1X, or the new GT1 Pro cockpits, is the modularity. It's basically industrial LEGO for adults. You can add shifter mounts, keyboard trays, monitor stands. You can build it exactly how you want it. It grows with you. So if you are tired of sliding around in your office chair and you want to start your own racing career properly, you need a solid foundation. Click the link in the description below to check out SimLab's cockpits. Whether you are looking for an entry-level rig or a full pro setup, they have the best engineering in the business. Start racing for real. Check out SimLab at the link below. Now, back to the grid. What's fascinating about this sim revolution is who is not doing it. Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, the old guard. Lewis has been famously skeptical of simulators for years. He says they lack the fear factor. He says the movement doesn't feel right. He prefers to learn the track on his first lap out of the pits on Friday. And for a long time, he was right. The sims were clunky. They were games. But the iPad generation, Lando Norris, George Russell, Alex Albon, they grew up with this. They don't see a difference between the virtual track and the real track. Formula One is a mental game. You have to maintain 100% focus for 2 hours straight. If your mind wanders for a split second, you crash. Sim racing is the only way to train this focus without risk. During the COVID lockdown, when real racing was canceled, we saw something incredible: the Virtual Grand Prix Series. Charles Leclerc, George Russell, and Alex Albon were streaming on Twitch every night. They were racing each other, laughing, screaming, and sweating. But if you watched closely, you saw the intensity. When it got to the last lap, they stopped joking. The chat went quiet. Their eyes narrowed. They were in the zone. They were keeping their competitive instincts sharp while the rest of the world was asleep. And when the real season finally started in Austria later that year, the drivers who had been sim racing were noticeably sharper than the ones who hadn't. But the most exciting part of this story isn't about the F1 drivers, it's about you. For the entire history of motorsport, there has been a money wall. If you wanted to be a racing driver, you needed millions of dollars. You needed a rich dad to buy you a go-kart, then a Formula Ford, then a Formula 3 seat. Talent didn't matter if you couldn't pay the bill. The simulator has cracked that wall. We are now seeing the first generation of drivers who started in their bedrooms and made it to real racetracks. Jan Mardenborough is the famous example, the Gran Turismo player who became a Le Mans podium finisher. There is a whole movie about him. But look at Jimmy Broadbent. He was a YouTuber. He lived in a shed. He raced on a simulator for years. Now, he is a real-life champion in the Praga Cup. the skills transfer. The physics in the modern simulators, iRacing, Assetto Corsa Competizione, R-Factor 2, are so good that if you can be fast in the game, you can be fast in real life. The braking technique, trail braking, where you slowly release the brake pedal as you turn the wheel to keep the weight on the nose, it works exactly the same in the game as it does in a Porsche GT3. The racing line? Identical. Racecraft? Identical. This means that for the first time ever, the average Joe can experience the exact same challenge as Max Verstappen. You can buy the game Max plays, iRacing. You can race on the same track, Spa-Francorchamps. You can drive the same car. You can even race against him if your rating gets high enough. You cannot play football against Lionel Messi. You cannot play basketball against LeBron James. But you can race against the F1 world champion on a Tuesday night. That is the magic of sim racing. It democratizes the most exclusive sport in the world. So, where does this go? As the technology gets cheaper and the graphics get better, the line will disappear completely. We are already seeing teams use driver-in-the-loop simulators to design the cars. They don't just use the sim to train the driver, they use the driver to train the car. They will build a virtual front wing, upload it to the sim, and have the driver test it. It feels a bit loose in high-speed corners, the driver will say, so the engineers tweak the code. They develop the car digitally before they spend a single dollar manufacturing carbon fiber. This saves millions in the budget cap era. And for the drivers, the addiction is only growing. After winning the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Max Verstappen went back to his hotel room and stayed up until 4 a.m. playing FIFA. But the next day, he was back on the sim. It is a lifestyle. So, the next time you see an F1 driver make a miraculous save in the rain or pull off an impossible overtake around the outside of turn 4, don't just think it's talent. Think about the thousands of hours they spent in a dark room, in their pajamas, doing that exact move over and over again until it was automatic. They are the first generation of digital gladiators, and they are changing the sport forever. But here's the catch. Sim racing is incredible for training your brain. It's incredible for learning the track. But there is one thing it cannot simulate: fear. In the sim, if you crash, you hit the reset button. In real life, if you crash, you destroy a $15 million prototype and possibly end your career. And as we talked about in our last video, the cost of those crashes is becoming a massive problem for teams. But there is an even bigger cost that nobody talks about: the cost of getting the seat in the first place. We simulated the driving, but we haven't simulated the bank account. If you think a $35,000 sim rig is expensive, wait until you see how much a father has to pay to get his son into Formula One. We are talking about the dark world of pay drivers, the billionaires who buy their way onto the grid. If you want to know which drivers on the current grid are there because of talent and which ones are there because of a checkbook, make sure you are subscribed. We are going to expose the Billionaire Boys Club in our next investigation. And if you want to start your own racing journey without spending millions, check out those SimLab links in the description. It's the closest you'll get to the real thing. Thanks for watching. Stay dangerous.